third panelist, oh yes, we're going to, Dr. Swarna Veerasinghe. Did I pronounce this? Yes. And Swarna is a professor in the Department of Community Health and Epidemiology at Dalhousie University. Her research interests are in the area of multicultural health, including gender and religion. Swarna has over 90 presentations, publications, and book chapters, and it is the founder of the Multicultural Women's Association of Nova Scotia. Her recent publication included a framework for an intervention on relapse prevention of drug addiction using mindfulness techniques. Swarna is an active member of the Atlantic Theravada Buddhist Society and the editor of the Atlantic Buddhist magazine, the second volume of which will be released shortly. So welcome, Swarna.
Thank you. So, as a matter of projecting my voice over male voice, I will stand up, if you don't mind. I just want to pay my salute and gratitude to all those who are attending. I have attended some international women's conferences around the world, and I must tell you this before I start, that there was one international women's conference, first one in India, where I talked about religion and gender, interactions of race, gender, and women's health. And there were no men attending. And the second one was in Thailand, and it is empowerment of women to gain access to healthcare. And there was only one man attending, and the man was accompanied by a woman who was a gynecologist. So this conference was attended by far and wide, all those people from Africa to Asia to around the world. So I pay my salute and gratitude to those male attendees, and this is the highest percentage of men that who have attended a talk based on gender. So I want to take a different perspective, but along the same line of what my two sisters talked about. So women's role, that we talked about women's role as a mother, wife, and a daughter and a sister. But so we want women to be women. But so I want to take a stand and just take these two of the roles as mother and a wife, because at the time limitation and illustration and exploration within a Buddhist context. So Buddhism, as you may know, that was originated 2,550 some years ago. So it is the 6th century BC. So the status of women then were totally different. So, and you know that the Buddhism was originated in Asia. So besides talking about Asian women versus European women and North American women, you know that the women, the status of women during that time, and even medieval periods, that the status of women. So this is what the status of women during Buddha's time. So a recent article by Dr. Modi that she says that this is during the Aryan period that the women started losing rights. That's the period that the Buddhism was originated, Buddha was born. And Gautama Buddha and even other religious leaders influenced to lift the status of women to gain gender equity. So I strongly believe that there is a natural progression of the status of women to gain gender equity. That's a natural progression, but the religious leaders who were born from time to time, that they influence to have this vertical upliftment of the gender equity. So, and we have come to a status that there is even UN Declaration of Gender Equity. And gender is in the UN agenda now. And there is a gender, you must be familiar with Beijing +5. So it was started in Beijing, China, and every 5 years that there is a UN Declaration of Gender Equity that women get together, the United Nations that that simply that women have high status. So that is where we came from there to here now. Okay, so let's see how so women have gained some rights, but still it is not equal. So Buddhist and gender perspective. So I would like to sort of talk about evolving gender roles over centuries, and gender is a construct. It is a social construct. But the biological construct, we cannot forget that men and women are different in biological. We have certain physical, biological differences. So we have to have that in mind when we talk about gender equity through a religious lens. So let's, religious aspects, as my two sisters talked about, that it mostly applies to the social construct of gender. So I want to just restrict my talk, not paying disrespect to this as a role as a daughter or sister, as a woman, but to a role of wife and a mother. So within that I will give an analytical exploration looking at the parallelism of Buddhism and feminism. Feminism did not exist centuries ago. So feminism is a new concept. Within that concept that women had gained some rights. Women had explored themselves, their position in the society, their position in the nuclear family. So let's see that what is the parallelism between Buddhism and feminism. And also that most of the religions that you talked about, religion is institutionalized. We talked about church, we talked about the mosque, we talked about the temple. So what is the role of women in the institutionalized Buddhism? And there are certain myths or truths about Buddhism. Is Buddhism patriarchal? Does Buddhism subjugate women? So I was reading some of these articles published by Western academics and scholars. So they were arguing that. So later on, so I can't remove myself from my work, which I am in community health. So I will talk about practical implications, how these notions can be used to the well-being of women, and to how does it apply to the abusive relationship that women are in. Okay, having said that, Buddhism has ever-evolving gender roles, but the Buddhism is said in Pali Akaliko. It's timeless. It is not time sensitive. But Buddha had said 2,500 years ago that it still applies to nowadays. So how do we do it? It is our own interpretation. What is different? So the role of women then and there. So that's why that I put my first slide to understand it. So it's not sometimes sensitive. And Buddhism is also called spaceless. It's not like Buddha was born in India and spread quickly to the Asia. And then Buddhism was brought during the colonial period by Colonel Alcott to Europe, and from there it spread to North America. So, but it is spaceless. What we practice there, they originated in India or Sri Lanka, or what we practice in temples in England and in Los Angeles and Harvard, it's the same Buddhism. But we have different lineages, that we have Shambhala tradition, we have other traditions, but the Buddha is the same Buddha. So we have the same 5%, we have the same text. So within that, gender roles within religion, so we have to keep in mind that this is 6th century BC. So the context where Buddha gave his discourses about women, that is in India, 6th century BC, but it is still applicable to him. So I just want to pay your attention to the status of women then and now. So I just didn't make this up. But this was in 2015, Forbes magazine did 100 most powerful women in the world. So this is two of them. Do you recognize both of them? This is the former Chancellor of Germany and Hillary Clinton. So you're glad that I didn't put Donald Trump in there. Okay, so this is the status of women then. Okay, as a mother, carrying the child and carrying water. So household duties. So that's tough. It is a tough job. So it is very, very difficult. The social construct, my mother and a wife, but now women have freedom carrying a glass of wine, and it's the same equal status. So we're going to rule the, we don't know what's going to happen in November 8th, but we'll see. So you can see that how it has evolved. Okay, so biological construct of gender. So look at these children. They used to be Barbie dolls. I'm glad that I don't have daughters. So that is the feminist construct that children grow up with. And boys are playing with this. I don't even know what this the characters are. So this the masculinity is endorsed in their the growing up, and femininity is endorsed in girls, so it's the weaker sex. But what Buddha had said is, okay, accept it, they have physical strength more than, and that's why that Olympic we don't have the mixed gender teams, so it's separate. Okay, so that's to be accepted. But the male physical strength to be used to benefit women, to provide protection to them, and to provide means of living to them. So these that there were certain jobs that women couldn't do. So okay, men can do those jobs and bring money and bring means to the family. So, but not to overpower women or not to subjugate women. So that is how the biological construct of a woman is interpreted within Buddhism. So I will just go into the role of a woman as a wife. So in Buddhism, that I think the Buddhist priest also told you that the Buddhism has two parts. One is the Buddhist literature part, which comes as, we call it Jataka stories. So they are, it's some of these are written later on, so which we call belong to the Buddhist literature. And there is the part called Dhamma. It's comprised of Buddha's discourses. That Buddha has given so many discourses during his lifetime. But this was passed on through oral traditions, because there was no printing available at that time. So until later on, when the printing was available, it was put in print. But when it was put in print, who put those in print? And the oral tradition, when they were passing by from one person to the other, certain changes were made. So keep that in your mind when talking about it. But the sutras are said that they are still not much influenced by these passing down traditions and the influence. But the Jataka stories, if I read the Jataka story written in Thailand, they have made some changes to adapt to the context of the country and the culture of the country. So if I read it in Sri Lankan Jataka story, it is different. So that's what I mean. But the sutras are different. So what is the 7 types of wives? So Buddha had said 4 good wives, okay? Taking care of husband, okay? Respects and cares like a sister. Fine mannered like a friend to her husband. Provide service to the husband. It's a servant. But remember that Buddha had said the same thing to the husband. You have to become a servant to the wife. So it's mutual. It's not subjugating one over the other. So respect and care is like a sister. And Buddha said to the husband that you respect and care like a brother. So it is very mutual, in equal stance. So who are the bad guys? One who disposed of plan to destroy her husband. So we have heard about those stories. So it's a slayer and a thief that who steals husband's wealth, husband's money, and misuses them, and dominates her husband, foul-mouthed, and vulgar towards her husband. So it's a tyrant. So don't be a tyrant to your husband, but husbands, don't be a tyrant to your wife. So it is mutual. So that I took this from a book that Shekhar has written, that it is widely used this in international conferences. They say that my wife doesn't work, but how much work does she do? Because she doesn't go to work 8 o'clock in the morning and comes back and bring a paycheck at the end of the month. No, but how much work does she do? So this is what the notion of not working wife. So 5 ways that a husband should treat wife: by being courteous to her, not despising her and faithful, and handing over the authority to her and providing her with adornment. So this was said that in the Singalovada Sutra, that the priest mentioned earlier, that the Singalovada is a household man that Buddha gave a discourse to him, saying that this is how you become a good husband, this is how you become a good father, this is how you become a good man to the society. So, as mothers, so Buddha said that in Buddhism, in Buddhist discourses, that Buddha uses so many similes. The one thing about one thing that the Western countries have adopted is that this is loving kindness. But the symbol of the greatest loving kindness that Buddha had said is the love that a mother gives to the child. So that way that the mother is considered as very sacred. Women are sacred and respectful assets in a nuclear family. So once when a devotee asked Buddha that, Venerable Sir, when you passed away, whom should we respect? So Buddha answered to him, Sumedha, the devotee Sumedha, Buddha answered him and said that you respect your mother, same as that you respect me, because mother is the guardian. Mother never, naturally, would not guide you in a wrong path. So you respect mother, listen to her. So, and also that one example that I got about this equal status given in the Buddhism for men and women, or the mother and father, is that there are 4 evil actions in Buddhism that can unpardoned, that cannot be pardoned. Other ones that you can do good things and just diminish your sin. But there are 4 that is very, very greatest unpardonable evil actions. Killing higher ordained priest. Okay? So priests died at a very high level. But look at this, killing mother, it's the same level. Killing father, same level. And also creating disputes among priests. So it is the unrest among the religious community. So now you can see that how the Buddhism, which was originated in 2,500 years ago, what I said, is still applicable. So I want to next go and do some analytical exploration. So I got this from Rita Gross. He has written a lot about feminism. Okay, but one of her articles that she did the parallel of feminism and Buddhism. So these are the 4 points that I got. And she says that feminism is about experiential understanding. It's not like someone has told you this, and it's because of that you believe in women are subdued, women are underpowered. No, it is not, because when you experience, you see it, you learn it. That's the same thing in Buddhism. Experiential understanding of Dharma. So Buddhism is all about self-realization. You understand it and you experience it. So that's it's called in Pativeda in Buddhism. So it's same as in feminism, holding on to the truth, the reality. So the reality can change, but so that's the one that you say about what you believe in, what you understand it. That's what the truth is. So in Buddhism there are 4 noble truths. So Buddhism is also based on holding on to the truth, which is called 4 noble truths. Is understanding the suffering, because Buddhism believes that Buddhists believe that if you eradicate suffering, then you gain your well-being. So it's one of them, and the path, understanding the path or the causation, and then the way how you diminish it and believe in diminishing it. So it's again that holding on to the truth, the reality, and feminism moving beyond convention. So again in Buddhism it's engagement in broader critical discussion. So Buddha had never said that just because I have said that, you do it. You investigate it, understand it, and realize it. Only if you do that and it is applicable to you in your way of life, do it. If not, it may not be the way for you. So I thought that these are very parallel interpretation to both, having an ultimate goal of liberation. So feminism, the liberation means that gaining the gender equity and overcoming oppression. In Buddhism, it's far beyond this, the one that you can realize that its ultimate goal is the liberation state, which we call nirvana. So the ending the karmic cycle of birth and rebirth. Okay. So now I will go on to just the 2 of these myths or truths that it's up to you to decide. The Buddha is a man, so is Jesus, so is Allah, so it's all religious leaders are men. There is a reason for this, I think. I don't know. I can't find an explanation to this. But in Buddhism, the path to self-realization, there is no different path for men and women. It's the same path. You can go and reach your goal using the same path. But I think this is because of Buddhahood, and if I look at other religious leaders, that it is for them that it is a struggle to convince the society what you have, the philosophy that you have realized. So it's a hardship. So can women have the same physical endeavor and physical strength and mental strength to overcome this society, to get them to listen and to be heard? So, and especially if you look at Buddha's life, that he had to stay in forest, deep forest, starving, and just living on fruits and water in the river. So even forest monks nowadays, they go through many hardships. So I wonder whether it is because that women cannot go through this physical hardships to reach self-realization. So that is my own explanation to you. And in Jataka stories, that Buddha was born in previous realms of life, and it's animal forms and other forms, but it's all male characters. So it is criticized by scholars that in that sense that Buddhism is patriarchal. And also in one Jataka story that where Buddha, so this is
trouble hearing you. Sorry, having trouble hearing.
Oh, really?
Hearing competition.
Okay, so I have to raise my voice. Okay.
Go girl.
Okay. That's the fight against the voice projection.
That's why I think they were all men. They could actually project their voice better.
Exactly. Can I borrow your voice? So there's a supreme generosity practice in that Jataka story that the king Vesantara, he offered his wife to become a servant to a man, Vesantara. But later on she was saved. But so this is nowadays, imagine it happening. Once I told my husband when I heard about this, you can never become Buddha because you cannot offer me to someone to become a servant. But nowadays, if it happens that the man will be jailed. Having said that, so I think this says that the bond, the love, that you give your most precious thing to give it up. So you give up your most precious things to achieve this status. I think that's what they symbolize it. Okay. Does Buddhism subjugate women? So I will look at the institutionalized Buddhism now. So it is, there was female monasticism during Buddha's time. Buddha's stepmother wanted to become, it's called the female monastics are called bhikkhuni. So his stepmother requested. So Buddha was silent for some time, but then the Buddha's assistant monk that insisted that you have to give them permission. So Buddha did that, but with over time, it's difficult because those days that they go from one house to the other with their football. So and they live in forest, and going from one house to the other is traveling in miles and miles through the forest. So in the Buddhist history, that it says that the bhikkhuni Utpalavanna, that when she was meditating in the deep forest, that a hunter who was drunk raped her. So then Buddha, that was informed to Buddha, and Buddha put certain restrictions, certain 8 rules for female monastics to protect them. So they have to be under the guardian of a male monk always. So it is done within a sense not to subdue them, not to subjugate them, but to protect them. So now let us look at institutionalized Buddhism within Canada. In Canada, that there are various Buddhist temples. So I just looked at Sri Lankan Buddhist temples. So there is Atlantic. I am in the executives, but I am only the editor with no voting powers. But this was done by my willingness. So I was approached by the priest and asked, "Madam, do you want to be the secretary?" And I said, "No, I don't want to gain social power through my religion, the religious institution. I do my best to serve the community." So that was my willingness. But we have 0 out of 5, Alberta 1 out of 4, so 1 woman. So if you look at these statistics, that we can argue that there are very few females are in executive positions. So 2 out of 13 in Toronto, another in Toronto, 1 out of 5. There are 2 temples that I got statistics. So very few females. So when I got this, I was shocked. And I asked, but the women, those who go to temples that, that Buddhist temples, that women are very active. Women are very active in temples, that they do all the work. They do most of the work. And especially that food serving and food preparation and all of this work. So the reason is that I asked the chief priest in Toronto, and the Toronto Buddhist temple is the one that first established in Canada. He said that the male priests are prohibited in their disciplinary rules. They have 200 some disciplinary rules. They are prohibited to have closed association with women, so that if women are in high-ranking executive positions, that we cannot go to the bank if the woman is a treasurer. So this is the reason that they tend to choose. So that is his explanation. So the equanimity is one of the fundamental principles in Buddhism, which is called upekkha. So in there, that men and women are considered as equal. So in achieving supreme state, that is called nirvana, so the ultimate liberation state, and they are equal in the path that they take to achieve liberation. So, and there is in those days in Asia that people throw female babies to the river because the female birth is considered as a curse, because you have to give lots of dowry. So if you don't have dowry, your girl is going to suffer. And you know that you have heard about Sati Puja. This was never endorsed in Buddhism. So, but the female birth is never endorsed in Buddhism as a curse, but it is a reward. So motherhood is a reward. So even barren women and widowed women are considered equal, because in some societies that they are considered as bad omen to the society. So I want to do some applications of this. So I will read it loud if you cannot say it. So this was, there's a social network site. So I am a fan of analyzing the data which are coming in social networks. So this particular one, that the woman said, I recently ended a relationship because I could not endure emotional abuse. I was new to Buddhism about a year ago when I met this guy. I had quit drinking for over a year and was mainly vegetarian by this time. In the beginning it was okay. He is devout and mentioned about his religion. And I asked if it was going to be a problem and if I was a Buddhist, and he said no. However, as we continue on, he would quote the religion and say things that made me feel he disapproved of my beliefs, the way I dressed, my lack of material desires, diet, and friends. I try to use loving kindness. So this is the fundamental concept of love in Buddhism, which we call metta, deep listening, etc., to no avail. He became verbally and emotionally abusive. He would get upset if I did not eat meat or drink alcohol. He had a bad temper and would blow up, and I started to get afraid that he would hit me. I started to think Mara, evil power, is here, or what the heck did I do in my past life, because we believe in karmic actions to get here. Needless to say that I felt I would lose my practice or my life, so she had to choose between the two. So the next time he stormed off after trying to get me to drink alcohol that I refused to drink, I let him leave. So this is her confession. So this is one of the Buddhist monastic advice. The Buddhist path has 3 levels of training: morality, which is ethics or non-harming, concentration or unconditional awareness, and wisdom or insight. Loving kindness and deep listening are part of the 2nd level of training, But relationship is something generally conducted on the first level of training. Buddha taught where a goddess has a relationship with a ghost. And it is the same way, where a god has a relationship with a ghost, so it is a female ghost. It will generally be a problematic relationship. A goddess is a moral woman, a god is a moral man, a ghost is a immoral man or an immoral woman. I think if, I mentioned the leader of the religious, cannot save your friend, how can you do? So, I mean, by looking at these two, it is intuitively clear that the gender roles within a matrimonial relationship are considered equal or to foster a harmonious relationship. So in Buddhism, that gender equity is promoted, but never subjugation of women or male domination is never endorsed in Buddhism. So I will conclude my presentation saying that Buddhism was originated in an era where the women were subjugated. We have to accept it, that it is in a region where women had very low status. So, and nowadays women's roles are different. So I think that not only Buddhism, other religions also help the natural progression of women's status. So, and to consider women as equal partners in a family life and equal partners in a society. And it is again that Buddhism, so as the other religions, are very practical. We have to look at religion not like something that God has told you. Look at it from a practical perspective, how it applies to you. And that would gain our equal partnership in the society and the family. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll just take a moment of quiet.